Hey, what's up, everybody out there in the XRP community? Thanks for tuning in to Investment Perspectives. All right, let's get into this. So I wanted to do another video while I had time today. Seems like a lot of things are coming on, or maybe I'm just starting to see more things in stuff that's already been out, just starting to kind of rise to the surface for me a little bit in some areas. So the kind of theme for this video, or the title of this video, as crazy as it may sound or not, I wanted to ask the question to everybody out here: will the US dollar lose its global reserve status to XRP? Or at the very least, will it share like petrodollar to XRP? We'll have to see. But one thing's for sure, let's take a look at some of this stuff. And again, because of the nature of what we're looking at and where we are, and that we're so on top of this, some of this will be overlapping a little bit. But I just feel like some of these things are out here, and I'm reaching to show certain points, and you'll see in a second. But I think they all point to what we're asking, the question that we're asking. So, and certainly to at least ask it doesn't mean that it is. But let's take a look at everything. So we know the G20 summit just revealed that there's global oversight and regulation for all exchanges. That's enormous. That's enormous. We have compliance all around the board, all around the globe with all of these different exchanges. That's enormous. Big things are going to start happening pretty soon, it would appear. So now, we are remembering that we're rolling a new digital asset in being introduced globally into a market. That's what all of that's about at the G20. And then obviously all the regulations that have been taking place in everybody's respective countries. To prove this market is being controlled legitimately now by the real oversight in the world, we've been witnessing the SEC just slamming ICOs to the tune that they've been told to back up a little bit because they've been getting a little too heavy-handed with some of it. And then again, even to that notion, Ripple and the Blockvest company, who launched their token off of Ripple's XRP ledger, I believe, if I have that correctly. The SEC just got slapped back on that for trying to jam up Blockvest, and they were told, no, that ain't going to happen. So we are seeing that push and pull of the market starting to take shape through legalities and regulation. That's the point here, right? Also, just a side note, I think it was a couple days ago, the U.S. Treasury Department sequestered 3 different Bitcoin addresses. So all the Bitcoin maximalists out here, think you're anti-bank and anti-this and that. It's like all that's out the window. All a country has to do is just say, you know what, we're banning your coin, and then that's it. It's worthless. It's that simple. It's over. So we'll have to see. I'm not saying that that's going to happen to them either. I'm just saying, as a general point, the U.S. Treasury Department sequestered 3 different Bitcoin addresses, and you know what? And that ain't the kind of thing where you're just like, well, I'm just not going to call them back. They're just going to shut you down. You're not going to be able to do anything with your money. So that's that. I mean, we're seeing these kind of things come into play. I also saw that NASDAQ is confirming they will be listing Bitcoin futures next year. Okay, so now I'm talking about Bitcoin and XRP. I don't want to confuse anybody, but the reason I'm referencing these things, because they're signals. They're showing us stuff, right? When we see the fact that the U.S. Treasury Department sequestering 3 different Bitcoin addresses, is showing they ain't going for this anymore. I told you the Wild Wild West is over. Those days are over. So you see the SEC coming in, getting serious with ICOs, and then putting out new books for distinguishing what's an ICO, what's not, and all of this. So then we see the Ripple case is still coming up. And I wanted to ask the community out there if anybody has a date on that. I know we have the former SEC chairman that is actually representing Ripple in the case, but I don't believe we have a date on when that's going to happen. And I'm wondering if that ends up being like, they just settle out. I don't know how it goes. I dare to guess. But the other thing I wanted to mention too, because we know that, if we're asking the question, will the US dollar lose its global reserve status to XRP? Or in some cases, would it be offered as, like if you were buying oil globally and it's usually the US dollar, would XRP be paired beside it for anybody who wanted to use either or. We don't know, right? But I know that I saw the other day, and I believe I shared it on my Twitter. Everything that I'm talking about, you can always find on my Twitter, and you can follow me on my Twitter. It says Average Joe Investor, and it's at Backup Bradley, and it's BAKKUP BRADLEY. You can follow me on Twitter. The country in the Middle East, Qatar, is leaving OPEC. Qatar is an extremely oil-rich country, and them leaving OPEC is not a small thing. Now, I didn't get a chance to look in what the said public reason was for them leaving, but I just find it significant that in the midst of everything that we're watching roll out from the cryptocurrency side, and especially the XRP side of things, I found it very interesting that a country like Qatar is deciding to leave OPEC. And knowing also, when I couple that China just recently passed law in their country that they're no longer going to use the US dollar for oil. They're only going to use the Chinese yuan. So this is getting pretty interesting when you see these different pockets and different countries starting to take shifts and tones with what their actions are that have never been done before. And I don't think it's for naught. Now, like I said, we got to look into these things and really drill down on them. But it is really showing me some heavy signals globally that there are certainly things in motion. Now, let me move forward here. So let's talk about this also. Malta. There was an article, and I have it on my Twitter, and I'll probably post it in the comments down below this video when it's done. Malta's prime minister tweeted the other day that Malta was the leading trader of XRP. Now, Malta's been big on blockchain and cryptocurrency, so that in it of itself isn't exactly like breaking news. However, we do go back to the conference with Brad Garlinghouse and the IMF lawyer, where the lawyer was just choking on his tongue almost, didn't want to answer the question about whether the IMF would adopt XRP and use it. And of course, we all know Brad stepped in and took over, and he laid out to them that in order for the IMF to do that with the current regulations the way they are, a nation working with the IMF or country would have to adopt XRP as their currency for the IMF to go ahead and use it at will the way they'd like to. That's with the current regulations. So it doesn't mean they can't change it, but that's with the current regulations. Now, here's where I just really want to say this is amazing. This is why I started this channel. You guys leave so many great comments. I want to shout out somebody right now is Julian Gillespie. I don't know if he's on Twitter, but I know he's in this feed, and you should follow him. And if he is, I wish he'd leave his Twitter so I can follow him on there too if I'm not already following him and I don't know it. But he has great comments, as so many of you do. And I just want to highlight him here because he brings up a great comment and question to that moment and what that moment suggests. And I'm going to get into that now. And this is his words, and pretty much I'm going to try to get it right here, Julian, for you. But it was a really great catch on your part, and I think we need to get into it. So in that statement, and in that hang, and Brad Garlinghouse has mentioned before that one major bank would be using XRP by the end of 2018. Now, we already know, and this is Julian Gillespie laying this out right now, saying he really nailed it, but we already know that we are partnered with several major banks. You know, PNC. We know about a lot of banks that we're partnering with. SBI in Japan and many other banks, right? And 80% of Japan's big banks, and then 50% of India's banks, right? If we already know that, and he's making a big deal, Brad Garlinghouse is making a big deal about one major bank would be using XRP at the end of the year, and we all already publicly know that there are several banks, it would seem that somebody never thought to ask him was it a central bank or a nation bank, right? Because that really is the question. You know, we already know about all the other banking partnerships and their big banks, but why would Brad Garlinghouse make a big deal out of touting one major bank when we already know of major banks, unless it was going to be a central or a nation bank? So, you know, this is really good food for thought. And I think that, you know, we're starting to see the shape of everything come together. So I'm going to leave it right there. I know it might be scattered about, but don't forget, we got XRP futures to be introduced to this market also. They exist already, but just not in the States. It's going to take classification for it to really be rolled out full on. But it looks like with the Bitcoin futures coming out already, it ain't going to be long before we see XRP futures too. So let's keep it coming. Let's keep the conversation going. Guys, you're something else. Just hit the like and subscribe and leave me some comments and questions in there, and let's keep this thing going. I'll talk to you soon.